SST. Hello everybody, it's terrific. Thank you for joining me. So glad you made it. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about a book called Moon Lake by Joe Lansdale. Ever hear of it? It's described as an East Texas Gothic. And I read this book. It's new. It's been out on trade hardcover for maybe a year, maybe a little less, I don't recall. Here's the trade edition hardcover. I got a couple copies of it. This one came from VJ Books, and it is a signed first print, first edition. There it is with a lovely signature from author Joe Lansdale. And for all you Lansdale fans out there, if you haven't read Moon Lake, right off the bat, I'll tell you, you're going to feel right at home. There is so much about this book that is pure Joe Lansdale. It's like going home back to mama's house for dinner. So comfortable, fit right in. Everything is just the way you like it. And this book, I really did like it. In fact, right up front, reductive rating, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. I'm a Lansdale fan. And like I said, I felt right at home with this book right off the bat. I didn't want to stop reading. I forgave anything in the book that I didn't quite like, and I relished practically everything in this book. So to get started, you have the main character. It starts off saying, hey, my name is Daryl Russell, and I dream of dark water. And it goes on about a father and his boy, his son, loading up in the car and riding out to Moon Lake. And the father is off. He's off and he's not himself. He's almost in a trance. And he's going on and on about how life isn't life without your mama here. The wife, the kid's mom, has left. She's gone. They don't know anything about where she's at or anything like that. According to Daniel, she wasn't much of a comforting sort of mom. I guess she didn't like being married to Daniel's father, and she really didn't seem to like being Daniel's mom. No kind words, no kind gestures or anything like that. Anyway, they're riding out to Moon Lake in the car, and Daniel's father takes that car. They said, we've lost our house, we've lost everything. Takes that car, rides out on an old bridge, makes a hard right turn, and off into the lake. This is a first-person narrative story, so you're in the car, and Daniel's trying to get out, and he's pretty much gonna die. His dad's gonna die. It's all over. But a mermaid, a black young lady mermaid, comes and saves him, drags him up onto the beach, and as he wakes up, he starts to realize that this mermaid is a young black girl, and she doesn't have fins. She actually has legs. And then he sees another face, and it's not quite as pretty. It's an old black man, and they rescued him. They take him back, take him to the sheriff's department where we meet Sheriff Dudley, who will later be Police Chief Dudley. But the kid's dad died. They assume the car's gone. They say it's off in a deep hole in the lake. We may never find it, and so your dad gone. We'll try to find your mom. And in the meantime, we got to find a place for this kid to stay. Naturally, Sheriff Dudley's going to have nothing to do with it, so the boy ends up staying with the Candles. Ronnie, the young girl, is his age. Mr. and Mrs. Candle, they're older black folks, and they take very good care of him. Mrs. Candles is kind and gentle to Daniel, what his mother never was. Mr. Candles teaches him to box and has him and Ronnie, the young girl, out there boxing and things like that. And so he's happy. For the first time in his life, Daniel feels happy. But after a few months, this is 1968, and this is East Texas, and this is a town called, I think it was called Long Lincoln now, or New Long Lincoln. The town was called New Long Lincoln now. And they can't, the white folks there, they can't abide by a white boy staying in a black house. So something's got to give. And ultimately they end up finding Daniel's aunt, who, like his mom, wants nothing to do with him. But what's she going to do? So Daniel is pulled out of this house. By far, he does not want to go, and he goes to stay with his aunt. And in this process, we get through stories, characters talking to one another. We find out that New Long Lincoln was once a town called Long Lincoln, Old Long Lincoln, which is now at the bottom of Moon Lake. They built the dam, they flooded the town, and everybody who didn't heed proper warnings and move out was killed in the flood. Just one night by surprise, boom, flooded the town, and lots of people were killed in the flood. And this goes back, the story goes back to this story of a lot of the bad stuff that happened with the powerful elites and things like that in the town. But at this point, Daniel's gone to live with his aunt. He's definitely not happy there. But the story fast forwards 10 years down the road, so now it's 1978, I think. Daniel's early 20s, and his aunt has died. Daniel's moved out. He's written a book. He's gotten published, so he's got a nice check, and he's working on a second novel. He gets word that they found his dad's car, and they found his dad in the car, and there's a woman's body in the trunk, and he's going to New Long Lincoln, to identify the bodies. And when he gets there, they kind of give him a chance to take a look at the car. They know he's a reporter type. Sheriff Dudley is now Police Chief Dudley. There's been a shake-up in the law around that town. Things are not on the up and up. Definitely a crooked town run by some crooked folks. But when Daniel gets there, they give him a little bit of leeway, stuff you ordinarily wouldn't do. They kind of turn their head and let him snoop, let him look. And he ends up identifying the car. That's it. He looks at the blanket that the woman's body was in, and he says, yeah, I think that was one of my blankets. He identifies his father. That was my dad. And then the lady that's in the trunk, he says, that's not my mom. The theory was that his dad killed his mom, put her in the trunk. Now him and his boy and all are going to go back to their old home at Old Long Lake at the bottom of Moon Lake, where the last time the dad was happy or the world seemed right was in those days. Put them all off in the bottom of the lake. Anyway, Daniel says, that's not my mom. The police really just want to say, no, button it up, all done, that's her. But he won't let it go. So he starts to investigate, and in the process, he stumbles into a lot of crooked stuff in the town, a lot of history, and now he becomes more of an investigator. In that meantime, the 10 years have passed. Ronnie, the girl, the mermaid that saved him, she's a police officer. So she's a black lady police officer in this post-Jim Crow era town. And it's kind of tenuous. It's not a really great situation, but she knows and understands how things work, and she's trying hard to make a good show of being a lady and a black lady and a police officer in this town in East Texas, and she's trying to be the best she could possibly be. Daniel moves into a boarding house with this lady, and she starts feeding him information about the history of this town. At the same time, Daniel gets hooked up with the lady who owns the local paper, and she finds out that Daniel's snooping into this town's history, and she says, I want you to write a series of articles about this town. I want you to expose the crooked, the dirty underside of this town. And ultimately, he wants to write a book about it, and she wants him to write a series of articles and then write the book. And I won't really go much deeper than that, other than some of the characters in this book are very Joe Lansdale-esque. There is a character, a strong black man, who's tough as nails and doesn't mind getting dirty, but at the end of the day, he's a good guy. He's gonna do the wrong thing for the right reason, sort of a guy. Doesn't mind busting somebody up if they need to get busted up. Daniel, the lead character in this book, also very, very familiar in many ways. He's kind of tough. He's been trained to box, and he can hold his own in a fight. but he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to hurt people. He's a little bit of a pacifist. He doesn't like guns. Even if he needs a gun, he feels like, I don't want to do anything like that. He go and buy him an axe handle and tote that around as his weapon of choice when things get really, really bad for him, or when things get really scary. Ronnie, the mermaid. She's now the black lady police officer. She's also very familiar in a Lansdale book. This strong black woman who's working against all odds and trying to prove a point by being really good at what she does, and in a bad spot, or in a tough spot anyway. So a lot of this story is very, very familiar, and at the same time, the Lansdale writing is very, very familiar. You get a lot of these Lansdale-isms, similes that will make you stop and laugh for a moment. But I think the first time I read a Lansdale book, I really liked it. But eventually I started listening to some Joe Lansdale interviews, and I really got a feel for the way he talks. And now when I read Joe Lansdale books, I hear Joe Lansdale telling those stories, and I love them even more. So I recommend that. If you haven't already, go listen to some Joe Lansdale interviews. Listen to some Casey Lansdale interviews. Listening to them both talk is very entertaining. Great storytellers, and it'll help you understand these characters and help the inner voice in your head when you're reading these characters, especially with their dialogue. But Moon Lake delivers in the way that many other Joe Lansdale books deliver. I think it checks a lot of boxes on types of stories. You got coming of age, you got a sort of a Southern Gothic, and you got a crime, we got to figure out who done it, sort of a thing as well. And I think that might throw some readers off, because when you get started, you're reading a book, it kind of feels a little bit like The Bottoms or Robert McCammon's Boy's Life, where this boy, you're living life through this boy's eyes. But then suddenly it comes to an end, and you fast forward 10 years later, and now you're living the life through a young man's eyes. He's a writer, he's an intelligent person, and he's also a little bit tough and those things. But that jump might put some people off, because it's a change of pace in the story, a change of the story in general. But I loved it. If you go in understanding that I'm here to read a good story, I loved it. And so basically this is a book that I would read again, no doubt, especially once I get through with the long list of Joe Lansdale books that I've still got to read. Moon Lake's on one of those books that needs to be read again. I really felt at home, really liked the characters, really liked the story. I really liked the end. This is one of those books where you get a good ending. You feel good about the ending. I won't give you any spoilers about it, but it comes off right, and ultimately the questions are answered, and that's all I got to say about the book. But today, beyond all that, I want to talk about SST. SST Publications, one of my very favorite publishers out of the United Kingdom. They published a 500 copy signed limited edition book of Moon Lake, Joe Lansdale's Moon Lake. It is illustrated by Dirk Berger and signed by the author and the illustrator. If the name sounds familiar to you, Dirk Berger has illustrated quite a few Joe Lansdale books for SST, as well as I think the Dean Koontz book, Devoted. I believe he's the one that did that. Well, let's get this mother opened up and see how she looks. I like SST. I like looking at the ladies on the stamps. Stamps were not exactly convenient. I remember having to put stamps on boxes, but when I see a box with stamps on it, it makes me smile. I like it. It's just a pain in the butt having to get the right amount and buying the right types and denominations and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how it works in the UK, but seeing the stamps on the box brings a smile to my face, because it reminds me of my childhood. My parents, mostly my mother, covering up boxes with stamps. So we got SST packaging, A great big box with lots and lots of stuff, all in the stuff. So good protection, really good protection. This is the way books ought to be shipped, so that when you get them in your house, they are in tip-top shape, just like I like it. If you haven't seen SST Books Unboxed, this is a nice little note that tends to come from Paul Fry, the owner. It says, "Hi, Tim. Thank you so much for your Moon Lake order. Enjoy, take care, Paul." Thank you, Paul. I truly appreciate the nice personal touch. I know it isn't easy, but it is nice. So let's get this bubble wrap envelope opened up and see what we got. Another nice touch from SST. Not only do you get the standard SST bookmark, which has changed a little bit in the last year or so, but the SST bookmark, but you get book wrapped in tissue paper. Another little touch, which makes it seem classy. The Lord knows I need all the class I can get. But let's get this out and see what SST, Paul Fry, Joe Lansdale, Dirk Berger, and all the others have done for this edition of Moon Lake. Yes, there it is. Take a look at that artwork, buddy. Man, it looks good. Good job, Dirk. Thank you. And there's a spine. That's what I will see on my shelf. Of course, I'll wrap this dust jacket in a Brodart adjust-to-fold 3 Mylar wrapper of some sort and put it on my shelf. It'll go in the Joe Lansdale collection. I'll have to make a space for it. Got a lot of Joe Lansdale books. And here's our dust jacket all opened up so you can see the artwork. How she looks, beautiful. SST Publications is very good about getting very nice dust jacket illustrations, and that's something that I can truly appreciate, because once you've read a book, really what you're going to see most for the rest of your life is the dust jacket. And now that the book is in the nude, let's take a look at it. Cloth bound boards, hot foil stamp on the cover and on the spine. SST, I like it. And here are our end papers. They're colored, but plain. This book, I think I read, has 7 interior illustrations. And here is, right off the bat, our signature page. Mine should be number 401. I think that's what it is. I can't see it from here. Signed by Joe R. Lansdale and Dirk Berger. And there is the father's car at the bottom of Moon Lake. It's very nice. I love signed limited edition books. And really, if somebody does it better than SST, there ain't many. They do a phenomenal job. And at the price, nobody does it nearly as good. At the price. You're looking at a book here delivered to me in the United States for, I would say, less than 60 bucks, including purchase and shipping from the United Kingdom. It doesn't get any better than this. So what I want to do right now is take a look and see what these 7 interior illustrations look like. I'm not sure if the if the signature page counts as one of the 7, but let's take a look. There are the Candleses and Daniel fishing on Moon Lake, as well as Flashlight Boy. I didn't mention Flashlight Boy. He plays a very large part in this book. That's not a spoiler. That's just a little bit of prelude information. Flashlight Boy. You will get to know him if you haven't already. Here is Ronnie. I think that's Ronnie. Let me take a closer look. There, yeah, so that would be our heroine, Ronnie. All right, what else? What else? Let's take a look. Beautiful. Dirk Berger, great job, man. Excellent illustrations, excellent artwork, just as before. I've got 5 or 6, maybe more SST books with Dirk Berger art in them. Every single one, a lot of detail, excellent artwork. A great choice, and I'm glad to have them. Glad to have them in my books on my shelf. and especially glad to have such a great book from one of my very favorite authors, Joe R. Lansdale, in to add to the collection. I would love to see a lot more Joe Lansdale signed limited editions from SST Publications. So if there's somebody out there granting terrific wishes, that's one of them. Keep them coming. Keep them coming, Joe. Keep them coming, Fry. Keep them coming, Dirk. How about that? Awesome. Reading this story, looking at these pictures, these illustrations here, yeah, I just said something about wanting to read the book again. Now I want to read the book again more than ever. Seeing these illustrations, I wish I'd have read this book first, kind of, giving me pictures in my brain of what some of these characters looks like. It's very good. I love the way that works. And then, oh yeah. All right, I think that's all of our illustrations, and that would be anyway. Here's Moon Lake and the surrounding area, Long Lincoln and New Long Lincoln. So this river was dammed. They flooded Long Lincoln. Now it's called Old Long Lincoln, and then the new town where New Long Lincoln is up on higher ground. The map is excellent. Again, I wish I had this map and I was looking at it before I read the book, or as I was reading the book. It helps to put things into perspective. But phenomenal job on Moon Lake. Phenomenal job on this SST edition. The Dirk Berger artwork. I love it. I can't say enough. So the book, 5 out of 5. The publication, 5 out of 5. With that being said, I can think of no more lies to tell, so... C'est la vie, baby.